Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talkin' Dirty with Maestro. If it's your first time here, I am not Maestro. I'm B-Ron taking over for Maestro filling, and you heard that laugh in the background.
That's not Maestro either, though.
That is not Maestro. That is my guest for the episode. He is a good friend of Maestro's, as we all are here in SimWorld. It is the Ringers, Elava. Elava joins Maestro periodically on what's called the Silvercast here in SimWorld, and Elava is the historian. If you've seen him around these parts here over the past
I wear
weeks.
many hats. I wear many hats around this place.
He sure does. It's good to have you here on the show with me, man.
I was gonna say it's good to be here. Thank you, Maestro. Thank you, B-Ron, subbing in for Maestro today and having me on, and a auspicious day to have me on. Some action I know people have been looking forward to for a while now. Some, not quite meaningful games, but some real showcases kicking off here, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday we saw the Trey-Jay SummerSlam get underway. That was a real treat, man. Like you were saying, it's so good to have basketball in some shape or form back, because we've been seeing the open runs and all that kind of stuff. Sure, that's great, but getting basketball in an arena with fans in attendance, totally different thing. Even if it is at the Drew in a glorified pickup game kind of setting, right?
I thought the Drew looked great. I appreciate Beyond Meat sponsoring. I don't think it's that bad. I've tried it. Try it, people. I'm just saying that. You look. No, obviously, these games aren't going down in any long-term records or anything. Aren't leading up to anything beyond what it is, but I thought that the crowd, both in terms of, the people actually at the events and, the mass media audience watching along, were both super into it, and that added a lot to the energy and atmosphere of some dramatic and very different basketball games that we saw over the course of, the last 24 hours now.
Yeah, multiple hours. It started at 4 p.m. Eastern time, so that was real early on the West Coast there when they started going, and it didn't end until around 10:30, 11 o'clock yesterday evening. So that was Eastern, so that was a long day for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's right. But like you said, good to have it back. And well, B-Ron, let's just dive in. And you know what? I know you're the host, but let me tee one up for you.
Yeah, of course.
We had 30 players in action today. Maybe pick, I don't know, let's just narrow it down to the top two. Maybe we just pick two who's at the top of your list, who stood out to you today, who's worth commenting on in your mind.
The most? That's tough. So the most, I think you have to start, and for as a quick disclaimer, we start getting into this proper. This is a SimWorld Prep high school basketball focused show, so we will not be talking about any of the college players in this episode. I'll leave that to the college guys to do that part. This is
unless we kind of have to, unless for some reason not mentioning them would be awkward in a context.
Right, exactly.
But yes, we do want to focus on the younger set here.
Yes, absolutely. So leading with that out of the way, I think you have to start with Javarian Hillington. He was a member of Team 1 with Ali Cortez, Ethan Letterman, Dara Storm, and Sol Evans. He's one that stuck out to me throughout the majority of the night here. I have in my notes here, I have the game broken down, I have standouts for each game. And Hillington was in 2 of these in Game 1 and Game 5. So he's one that stuck out to me the most, I would say. And it was very, very quickly, too, because this was really our first time seeing him in some sort of game action. Again, we've seen a lot of pickup games, that kind of stuff, but these are somewhat close to your actual games. Again, these were 8-minute quarters. There were no subs, sure, but they're 8-minute quarters, so you're getting somewhat of a game-esque environment here. They're not pickup games to 21, So these guys were going, 8 minutes, no subs, nothing like that. So, but Hillington stuck out to me immediately. He's going to be playing for Southeast Select this upcoming season. No Coach Brett Lee no longer there, as we know. They've got Sean Harper taking over, filling in his seat over there. And I think that I said it yesterday on Twitter, actually, that Hillington, with what I saw yesterday, he looked like he's going to pair extremely well with KJ Hills on that team this coming season for Southeast Select.
Drake Johnson too, by the way. I think B-Ron. I like that as like a 3, because the size of Hillington, who can play guard, who can get out on the perimeter and really shoot too, as we're seeing some today. I think that's a great player to pull out of the pack there because has shown us something. And you're right that we didn't really get to look at him before. I didn't necessarily know that he could kind of do, that his skill level is as high level as I think what we saw some of today. So definitely looking forward to see some more of him.
Yeah, it was impressive seeing again, what he could do. And you mentioned Drake Johnson a minute ago, and he will be returning. I thought that he was moving on. I thought he was moving on to SimWorld Hoops, but no.
Yeah, no, he's going to be good.
It was the other one. It was Dexter Jackson. Dexter Jackson was the one who was moving on.
Another DJ. You're forgiven. There's an initial confusion there.
Yes, absolutely. But that was one of mine for sure. The other one stuck out to me the most. Again, I think you have to go. For me, it had to be Jake Lee. There were other names in here that I have multiple times listed, but we're talking about guys who stuck out the most to me. It's Hillington and Jake Lee as the number 1 and 2. Lee for he started out in that first game a little slow for sure, but when he got to that second game, when he went up against Arizona's Corey Yams in game 3. That was the one where it was like, ooh, okay, this is one where I saw something and I thought, man, he's really holding his own. And 247 said the same thing. He was holding his own against Corey Yams out there. And that was extremely, extremely impressive to see from Jake Lee, a kid who's entering his final season in SimWorld Prep here. There were talks of him possibly reclassifying last season. That didn't end up happening. Instead, he decided to come back for his final season with the Bay Area Breakers. And I think that first-year coach Brody Knight over there is going to have a really big piece to help this team next season, or this coming season, rather, is what I'll say. He looked comfortable and wasn't fazed by the big time pressure of going up against a guy like Corey Yams, because we know Corey Yams is a really strong defender and rebounder, especially. But Lee, like I said, Lee was unfazed, even though I saw CBS's J.K. Candell say that Yams handled him pretty easily. I didn't see that personally.
No.
But everyone's entitled to their opinion, so I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, well, your and our opinions line up on this one more. I mean, more than just kind of hanging with him and battling in the game. Keep in mind, they won that game, and they won it on a Lee bucket.
Yes,
at the buzzer,
yes,
where he
Jake
got
Lee.
to the hoop
Yep.
around Corey Yams. So, look, we're talking like, we're looking at performances, we're looking at potential, but there is also a champion that's going to be crowned in this, and it means something, and you're trying to win these games, you're trying to advance. Some teams are already done. You want to play as much as possible, and winning games counts, and Lee came up with the W today, and he was a massive part of that. To give you out my two, well, kind of enough said about Jake Lee. I mean, he's got to be on that list for me too, and I completely agree. Another Team 2 standout for me, actually, though, was Drew Hanna.
It's a good pick.
Coming in. Yeah, well, it's funny, too, because you were talking about Hillington, and Hanna built kind of the same right now. He's a little bit older and actually a little bit lighter, listed as a forward and plays a little bit more as one. Anyway, just an interesting kind of comparison between those two, because I actually think there's some interesting sort of physical and skill set similarities between Hillington and Hanna.
I think both of those guys get downhill very well. I think we saw that yesterday, too.
I kind of, and that, you pulled out Hillington, and I was like, ooh, that is a good name to throw out there. But, I did see actually a lot of the same today in Hanna, and of course he was a big part of that big victory in the Team 2, Team 3 matchup, which we're going to see a rematch of that tomorrow as we advance here. But, I really liked what I saw from him, too. Better athlete than I necessarily knew he was. And this is another guy who we're sort of getting a first real live action look at, right?
Exactly.
Outside of the runs and whatnot. And, the Scorchers got Jason Holbrook coming back next year, and I think, on a team without necessarily, beyond the Appias behind Holbrook, a whole ton of size. I think Hannah could, if not nail down a starting spot there for Coach Barry, can definitely at least look forward to heavy minutes off the bench based on what I saw here today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, and, I want to mention that we're not going to mention a lot of college guys a lot, again, unless they come in conversation. This is one here where, just like with the Corian situation, becomes other conversation because Drew Hanna was playing against a former Scorcher and DJ Ammer in one of the games, and that was a fun matchup to see too, because again you got to see the past and the present kind of collide there between Hanna and Ammer there. So I liked that game in particular. That was the team 2, team 3 game, which again we'll see that one again here tonight at 7 p.m. So that's gonna be really fun to see that one happen again. And I really liked Drew Hanna as well. That is another deep cut for a pick from yesterday's games. E, do you have another one? I know you mentioned 2, but do you have another one? Because you have Hanna and you weren't gonna go with Jake Lee, but who's your other one?
No, I know. I think Lee has to be on anybody's list. I mean, I think if you're not including him, you're anyway. But you know what? I'm going to mention one more name, and I know this is a rule break, not talking about college, although he's not even quite there yet. But long time SimWorld prep player Enzo Wolf, also for Team 2, I thought really shone today. Wanted to mention him at least, though we're not focusing on the guys no longer on the prep scene. But, talk about prep and talk about me being the historian. I mean, one
had a bit of tech difficulties there, but we're back.
Yep.
We're
Sorry
back.
about
Thanks
that.
for
Not sure what
hanging
happened.
on. Yeah, it was really weird.
Gremlins will get you. Hey, but I just wanted to say, Enzo Wolf, no, he's not in prep anymore, but really proud of him. He really did have to work hard to get where he is. I thought he really showed a lot. It was a big part of why Team 2 advanced. And for somebody that really kind of had to struggle, came into prep undersized, put in a lot of time there, put in a lot of work there, and went through a lot of learning curve there, but that work is now paying off, and congrats, Enzo. Thought you done well there.
Absolutely, yes, definitely congrats to you, Enzo, for sure, for persevering, because you had your adversity for sure, but look at you now, going to Iowa and all that stuff, right?
Looking bright future and look good here in the Trey-Jay SummerSlam.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of looking ahead, right, we got games tonight as well. When we have games tonight, Team 2, Team 3, and then Team 5 and Team 6 facing off to see who gets to that championship game at 9 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday as well tonight. So we'll get through that. We'll get through those games tonight, and we'll kind of champion tonight as well. We've talked a lot about Team 2 and Team 3 to start the show, which is kind of weird that's funny how that worked out the way it did. And it's funny because neither of those teams are my favorite. My favorite was Team 6. I said that on the episode last week when I had Phoenix on. Team 6 was my favorite team, and they still are coming into this round here. It's still in the tournament, so they're still a favorite to win. But yeah, I want to start there with this conversation in particular. Team 5 and Team 6. This is a game where you've got guys, again, speaking particularly on the because we have to talk about all of them here for the sake of team purposes here. Alex Rodriguez, we saw him hit some big shots in a few of those games yesterday, but you also saw one of the other standout guys that I was going to bring up too, because now I'm glad I get to talk about him. New face to the league as well, new face to SimWorld Prep as well. Josateki Bainavalu. That's a name. Bainavalu. Yeah. That I love.
Rolls off the tongue.
Absolutely. He really impressed me yesterday as well for Team 5. But also on the other end of things, on Team 6, you have to talk about Daniel Irvin, coming over from the Scorchers, actually, to play for Lone Star Basketball Club this coming season. I think that he's going to be a big part of that game as well. And Wilson Lamb, I like what I saw from him yesterday, too. He looked very crafty in spots where I feel like he didn't show a lot of that last season. There was one move in particular stood out to me. He had it was a behind the back wraparound sort of thing, and he got by his man to the basket, and that was one of those like, that was very nice. I don't think we saw him do a whole lot of that last season. So that matchup is my more intriguing one of the two. And again, both of these are really good on paper here.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I actually kind of think really sort of the 5-6 matchup comes down. Well, it doesn't come down to just this. And in fact, there's a lot of intriguing head-to-head battles we could pick out here. Again, two college players, but, Leonardo Fields, Viktoras Ilgauskas, there's two titans kind of crashing down in the paint. But I think the question of, how well does Calvin Javelin contain Daniel Irvin should be really impactful in this game. We saw particularly in some earlier action in this tournament, what Irvin is capable of, and we certainly all know it from in terms of, his just raw ability. But I think, two teams that can kind of play defense, and Javelin himself, decent athlete and a good defender. It's kind of, what he's most well known for, I think. And I think looking at that matchup there between two Washington State-based players, interestingly, is going to be a key one to watch to see who's going to advance out of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I realized now that I misspoke. Wilson Lamb, he's not in prep anymore. That's Calvin Javelin. Because I knew they were on the same team last season. They were on the same team last season. Again, that's what threw me off here. We're doing this live. I'll take on air. Calvin Javelin is still with the reigning Trays. Wilson Lamb is now in SimWorld U in college, so he won't be returning to the Trays.
Easy mistake to make.
Right, exactly. A lot of
player movement.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so used to seeing these guys, though, with their respective teams, spent a lot of time last season with their team, so you'll forgive me for that mistake, right? Viewers, ears listening.
Mistake. Yeah. I forgive you. I'm sure the audience does as well. But who do you got winning this one, 5 and 6? Well, I think you kind of stated your true heart's desire was.
Yeah, true heart's desire is still Team 6. I'm rocking with Team 6 to take that one. And win that one.
I can segue out of this one though nicely because I'm with you. I think Team 6. I think Ilgauskas is a big part of that too, quite frankly. Again, we won't dwell on it, but just in terms of win or loss, I think that's going to be a decision maker there. But I actually don't see Team 6 advancing on in to become crown champion of this because in the Team 2 versus 3 matchup, and let's call out too, that was definitely the game of the tournament so far. Lee sneaking in for that late bucket to win that thing.
Yeah.
I think that Team 3 has the advantage going into today's game as well. Corey Yams, Pablo Guzman really, again, kind of stood out to me, too, for a college player who's looked good. DG Ammer, Millie G. I mean, there's just a lot of talent here on this Team 3 team. And as much as Drew Hanna and Jick Lee did to get this far, and as enamored as I am with Enzo Wolf, and of course, number one on my list of all-name players, Sunshine Kicklighter.
Absolutely.
Number one on that list, number one in your heart. But I just think Team 3 ultimately has a little bit too much for them, and I actually think Team 3 is going to come out on top of this in the end. That's my prediction. Team 3 over Team 6 in the final. So go through your 2-3 breakdown and your final breakdown, B-Ron, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, so look, I really like this matchup too as well. Both these games, again, are going to be really good. And that game yesterday between 2 and 3 was one of the better, looking at it score-wise anyway, best one of yesterday. And I think that we'll see a very similar game to what we saw yesterday as well. And you know what? I'm gonna take Team 2 in this one once again, just because I feel like they'll just find a way to get it done. And again, yes, wins and losses really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, even though these teams that are left are playing for 5,000 EMs as the grand prize and 2,500 as the runner-up prize. So they're playing for something, sure. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. So not going to dwell on it too much. But I do think that Team 2 does take this one. I think that they have just a little bit more of an edge. I really think that the younger legs, if you will, of Team 2 with Jake Lee and Kick Lighter and Hana will definitely do a little bit more to overcome the Team 5 squad, or I'm sorry, the Team 3 squad here in that game. So for me, it would be Team 2 and 6 in the championship, and then Team 6 would end up winning the championship and getting the Trey-Jay SummerSlam championship here for this off season. I'm really looking forward to it, though, man. This has been fun, E. Thank you for coming on with me and talking through this with me. It's very fun.
Happy to do it. Happy to watch the rest of this and see if we're right or wrong. Going to be entertaining to see who's crowned champ at the end of this.
Yeah, exactly. Now, E, before we go, I have to ask you the question. I hope you know this because the players that I've had on Dirty Shorts, they don't know the answer to the question. So please tell me you know this one.
Give it to me.
We never let Jason Bourne do what?
Oh, no.
Oh, E.
I don't know.
Oh, no.
Never Leave Him for Dead.
Close.
It's a good.
You never let it. Now, this is not my thing. This is Maestro's thing. Never let Jason Bourne borrow your car. That's it.
That sounds like a Maestro thing.
It is. Yeah. Absolutely is a Maestro thing. Gotta keep it rolling while he's not here, right? Someone else has to do it. That someone else is me. I'm doing it.
Well,
never let Jason Bourne borrow your car, everybody. We'll see ya, or I will see you guys back on Dirty Shorts this weekend. And throughout the week, enjoy the games today, later on this evening, starting again at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight on local broadcast for those games. And then the championship game will be on SimWorld TV, broadcast at 9 p.m. Eastern. Look out for that. For Elava, I'm B-Ron. Thank you for tuning in to Maestro Talking Dirty, and we'll see you on the next one.